Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I want to play Aircraft Carrier Survival. It's a nifty little game where you manage a carrier during World War II in the Pacific Theatre. You do have an escort fleet with you, but your primary task is to manage the carrier itself. That means managing the personnel in order to maximize the capabilities, launching and retrieving air missions, as well as taking care of damage within the carrier itself if you happen to get hit. So there are a lot of variables to take into account, and your primary goal is to maximize the performance of the carrier itself. I played about 20 hours and several missions in the campaign so far, and I want to share a few tips on how to get started in the game. So let me start a new campaign. I'll start a normal, and I'll play the tutorial as well. Just so you can follow along. Right, the first step is to create your admiral. This I think is unique to the campaigns. You get to pick a special order that you can take advantage of. The first one is to get an extra damage control team. That helps you repair things faster. The second one is to get better performance out of your radar. So that means you're able to detect things faster. The third one is to take a defensive position. Now I thoroughly recommend this one based on my experience with the campaign, because being able to improve your carrier defense and your escort defense is very important once you get attacked. So it's one thing to be able to repair things by your damage control teams, but it's better to take no damage. And it is nice to be able to detect enemies faster, but it's unavoidable, so you may as well try to avoid damage from attacks in the first place. So let me take that one, defensive position. After that, it's a matter of customizing your character. You can take several voices, let's see.
Hard work is what keeps the ship moving.
Hard work is what keeps the ship moving.
Hard work is what keeps the ship moving.
Let's go with the salty old pirate voice. I like that one. We could go with the eye patch, but let's go with that double eye patch. Yes, this guy is so pirate that he gets double eye patches. And yeah, what is a salty old seaman without a pipe, right? Anyway, so we start at level 3. That means we have 3 skill on air and navy. He be old pipes. This guy's also a smoking pipe, so there you go. Slightly different hair color and beard, but that's good enough for me. Okay, so the campaign is composed of several missions. At the beginning of each mission and after each mission, you come back to base and you can customize things before you set off for the next mission. Right, this is Pearl Harbor, and as it says, yes, you will come back here. Introduction to Pearl Harbor. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One is command points. You use them to purchase items like, say, extra aircraft, extra crew, extra officers, extra escort vessels. That is our carrier, by the way. This is an escort carrier. And this is upgrade points. Those ones allow you to upgrade things like your carrier. You can get better carriers, better planes. You can also make better escort vessels available to yourself. The dock itself is the overall view that you see here. Then you have the crew. That's where you customize your crew. So this is just telling us that this is where you manage your crew. So you can expand your slots for officers and crew. That means you can take on more of those people. It does help you manage things a bit better. The default is to have 2 officers and 8 crewmen. You can also purchase newly recruited crew. And if you want to look over the officers available, you can click on your officers. Actually no. Okay, so this is just telling us that you can expand the number of slots. And here is where you recruit people. As you can see here, there's 2 slots for officers, there's 8 slots for crew. So you can have more people than your ship can take on. The rest simply go on this reserve slot here. You can also recruit officers, which I definitely recommend. So it looks like all the crew begin as novices, but it's a slightly different story when it comes to officers. So you begin with fairly inexperienced officers, but the people you can recruit have much better skills. And I definitely recommend that you actually buy some. That will cost us some command points over here. So let me remove that guy, buy this guy, yes. So the skill points of your officers come into play when you're doing orders. So if you have higher skilled officers, that allows you to do more with less people. Otherwise you might have to assign multiple officers to a task. Recruiting this 4 skilled naval officer opened up a 4 skilled air officer. At the moment we're not going to be buying too many things, so it is actually a good investment to focus on officers. So there you go, 4 and 4. Okay, so by default you begin with 24 aircraft, and your carrier can only take 24 aircraft. That can be upgraded as well. So this is the beginning of the war, so you begin with some pretty terrible aircraft. These are all the pre-war models. If you have enough free slots, you can purchase more aircraft. So yes, if you spend 2 upgrade points, you can upgrade the type of aircraft. That seems to give you +1 defense for each type of aircraft, so it makes them more survivable, which is fairly important on longer missions. So this is the carrier view. We start off with a fairly basic carrier. Carrier comes with radar, anti-aircraft stations, and it has a default hangar capacity. You can upgrade each of those. Yeah, and you can rename it if you want. I'll keep it as default. You can also click here to upgrade. So we begin the war with a Lexington class carrier. It has one plane elevator. Plane elevators allow you to bring up planes from the hangar. Then you have maximum deck slots. That's how many planes you can send out on the mission. There's a number of sections below deck. That affects how many things can take damage. I don't think that makes that much of a difference, but I guess bigger ships require more damage control teams. But I haven't got to that point yet. Generally, I've been able to avoid too much damage. The more island rooms, the more officers you may need. So as you upgrade across classes, some things will change. One of the biggest differences I've found is the plane elevators. So I've had to play around with the Yorktown during the campaign. So basically, more plane elevators means that you can bring up more planes from the hangar. This one just means that it takes less time to bring up planes from the hangar, which can be pretty important. You also get one more deck slot, so that means you can send out bigger air missions. That can be very important against some of the stronger fleets, particularly if you want to avoid damage. So we can't get this yet, but in order to unlock it, you have to upgrade the previous carrier across all 5 categories. Anyway, let's look over at the escorts. So by default, you can take 3 escort ships with you. They each provide different capabilities. By default, the size of your escort is 3 ships. But you can upgrade that to about 5. And here's the vessels that we can purchase at the moment. And here's the vessels we have now. So we have 3 vessels on dock. Those are the ships that are assigned to escort at the moment, but you also have some extra ships available to you. By default, the escort is comprised of a replenishment ship that allows you to replenish your supplies and carry on more air missions. There is one sub, which by default gives you an extra 50 miles to your radar range. You can also use it to attack non-combat ships in enemy fleets. It can be very useful against some of the bigger fleets. And there's an escort carrier here. It gives you a +1 passive bonus to carrier defense and escort defense, but you can also actively ask it to launch a CAP, which is a combat air patrol. That gives you a bonus to your fleet's defense values, which can be very useful. Anyway, that is everything. We still have 8 upgrade points. One of the first things I love to do is just upgrade the hangar capacity. It's also nice to upgrade your AA stations. The reason for that is that once you get attacked, AA has a cooldown of 6 hours. So if you get multiple strikes coming in to attack you, you might end up with no AA. It's a nasty little surprise that I found, so it is a good idea to have extra AA. Anyway, so we have a further 4 upgrade points. We could spend that to get more crew slots. I think the survivability of our planes is more important. I found that many of the best missions involve using dive bombers and torpedo bombers. Fighter aircraft don't seem to require that much protection. So I'm going to upgrade each of those. And as you can see, upgrading them to a better class gives you better defense on maneuvers. That means that they have a better chance to survive missions, which is pretty important. And also, we can buy 3 more planes. Spread out nice and evenly, but you can choose to go unevenly. So for example, you could take less fighters if you wanted to. I think I just wasted a few command points. Okay. Be mindful of messing around. Don't waste command points. They can be scarce later on. But I found that the biggest shortage is with upgrade points. Anyway, let's get a move on. So yes, it would have been a good idea to actually check the mission before upgrading. But in this case, it doesn't really matter because we only have 1 mission available to us. Later on in the campaign, you'll get missions where you have a choice between multiple missions. Anyway, in this case, we have to defend Wake Island. The text is a bit small, but it boils down to there's a carrier attacking Wake Island, we have to destroy it, and we have to launch a mission to rescue a VIP on the island itself. And you can get extra bonuses by carrying out optional goals. So to get the optimal performance, you have to destroy 3 enemy vessels, you have to avoid losing 2 or more of your squadrons, and you have to finish within 20 hours. This one I found to be the most difficult. And if you succeed with the mission itself, you'll get 5 command points and 6 upgrade points, and each of these optional goals will give you an extra medal. Medals are used to upgrade your crew or your officers. Apparently circumstances can change during the mission. I haven't yet run into one where the circumstances have changed, but I guess that means you have to be prepared. Anyway, let's begin.
And has just been attacked by the Japanese Navy, Admiral. There is a White House official on the island, visiting our base there. We cannot get to him while the island is under fire, so we need to find the exact location of the enemy carrier attacking the base and destroy it. Once that has been dealt with, we will have a short space of time within which to carry out the rescue. You must launch a rescue mission to the base, where our men will take the VIP on board for a safe return to our carrier.
So this is what we are. That's a carrier view. You can kind of move around. There's different views. You got the deck view, which is primarily used for managing airstrikes. Then you have the stations, which is where you get an up close and personal view of the ship itself. So you can see different things. So there are a lot of animations taking place. Okay, so we've been spotted. And the island is where you manage your officers. If you have an officer in a slot, you can change what's happening within that slot itself. But otherwise it will just stay with whatever is currently assigned. Anyway, let's see. Free camera just means you can look around. And there on the background you can see our escort vessel. You'll be able to see planes landing and launching in this view, as well as the deck view. Okay, but first things first, we've been spotted. And that immediately creates a mission to counter the scouts. So if you look at the mission itself, it will tell you what kind of planes you require for that mission. In this case, we have 2 fighters, which is the leftmost category. The middle one is dive bombers, and the right one is torpedo bombers. So we need to have 2 fighters on deck in order to launch this mission. So let's do that. You click on the plus in order to add a squadron. That's fighter aircraft, and it's fighter aircraft. That takes time, and I believe if you go to the sections, you'll be able to see the planes coming up. Yeah, the planes are actually being brought up to the elevator, and if you go back to there, the planes are physically coming up there. So there is a match between the planes there and the planes coming up there, which is a neat little detail, I think. So things do happen within the ship itself. This denotes where the damage control teams are. Anyway, that's ready. There's 2 planes on deck, or rather the second squadron is coming up. But since it's coming up, it counts as being on deck for the purposes of launching the mission. We'll do that. And also, we should get a move on. So while that's launching, this is our carrier over here. Here is Wake Island. And here is a contact. It may or may not be the enemy carrier. That means we have to go and recon it. Okay, so let's launch this first. But let's also manage our officers. Okay, so we get 1 extra cap mission. Okay, that's nice to have there. This one by default. This one by default. This one boosts the damage control, which is fine with me. We can change this to get extra missions. This one improves the efficiency of our air department. Okay. Identify targets. Yes, we do need that. So I'm pretty happy with what we got here at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll move this officer from here to here.
On my way.
Because I think that we'll be changing from recon to something else pretty soon. And here, yeah, we'll have 1 recon mission. And here,
Same old, same old.
same old, same old. That's me. That's my voice.
Awaiting orders.
Now I change that to airstrikes by default. And we need to start moving. Right, so let's move. I recommend moving closer to Wake Island. So if you do that, it allows you to plant multiple waypoints. You can have up to 3. But if you right click on the waypoint itself, it will cancel it. That's fine. Okay, so we're moving. You also have to set a speed, which we've done here. That's about to half. And also, let's manage our crew. Okay, so anti-aircraft. If we get attacked, you need to have somebody manning their guns. This is damage control. We should probably have somebody there. It takes time to shift people around. So if at the moment I don't have anybody who requires medical attention. So let's shift him over to the air department. So each slot you man in the air department allows you to have an extra squadron in strikes. Navigation governs how fast your ship can move. So at the moment we can't go at full speed because we don't have enough people there. But that's fine, we don't really need that right now. It's more important to have a full air department right now. Anyway, so let me get 2 dive bombers on the deck. So we want to launch a recon mission in order to spot the enemy. So that requires 2 dive bombers. They're coming up on deck, so let's get that started. So we have a contact over here. It's moving in this direction. So let's go about there, because it will take some time for the planes to get there. And you also have to define a recovery area. This can be pretty important. So you have to plan for the future. Our carrier is moving this direction, so we want the planes to meet us there. And a bit of a tricky thing is that you have to click on confirm over here. It may not be so visible, but you have to click on confirm, otherwise the mission is not taking place. And once you confirm, the mission will show up here in the ready slots. That will allow us to launch it. Now we have 2 dive bombs on deck. Let's launch them. And also, our fighters are going to meet the scouts pretty soon. I think we may meet them soon. Yeah, within about a couple of minutes. And there you go. So because we launched fighters within the time allotted to us, we were able to counter the scouts. That means that the enemy doesn't know where we are now. There you go. And now, after a mission, you have to recover the planes. You have, in this case, we have 1 hour and 30 minutes to recover the 2 fighters. Otherwise, they will simply ditch into the sea and we'll lose them. So you have to manage that. You can't launch and recover planes at the same time. This is World War II, not the modern day. So you have to manage the status of your deck in order to recover the planes. So at the moment we don't have any planes ready. So what we'll do is we'll change the status to recover planes. That will allow us to pick up these planes. So you can wait up to an hour, but air operations take time. So you could easily end up with insufficient time to recover all the planes that you have in the air. And like I said before, if you don't recover them in time, that's it, they're gone. So here you can see the total number of planes that you have. Sometimes the number might show up slightly differently, depending on what's happening on deck and whatnot. And if you look at the free view, you can see the planes coming in. And when you recover planes, you can either choose to have them land on deck, or you can choose to have them go into the elevator and go back to the hangar. Going back to the hangar takes more time, but you can only have so many planes on deck, so you might have to sometimes choose the hangar. So you have to manage that as well. Here's the second squadron. It's pretty cool. So the game's taking a lot of care with the animations. It does help you get more immersed in the game. Okay, now that squadron will go up here. And if we go to the deck view, you can see that. Okay, so we have 2 fighters on deck. Let's see. Let's launch a scouting mission.
Clear the flight deck and prepare for takeoff.
So we have 2 fighters on deck. Let's take advantage of that to launch our scouting mission. And as you can see, the planes get physically moved back. So if you have a lot of planes on deck, it will take longer to swap between launching and retrieving. At the moment, these guys are ready to launch, so let's launch a scouting mission.
Launch aircraft.
What that will do is it will increase the range of our visibility. So at the moment we can only see this far, but if we launch scouting, it will automatically take ships up to about this far away. There's another contact here, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. Okay, so if you mouse over the mission, yes, we've just detected the fleet. Right there. So by default you can't see the planes. But if you mouse over, you can see where they are. The planes are currently there, and they'll start coming back pretty soon, and we'll meet them within that circle there. Anyway, so we have to also, so we know there is a, shit, that was a mistake. You can cancel, as long as the action isn't taking place already, it's only queued, you can cancel by right clicking. So that was a mistake, luckily I could cancel it. Let's bring up a dive bomber.
Dive bomber squadron on the deck.
So let's bring up a dive bomber, and let's prepare another mission to identify the fleet. So we know there's a fleet there. There's 3 Japanese ships, but we don't know what they are. They could be just random ship, it could be a carrier, or it could be something else. So we have to click on that as the waypoint, and then set a recovery area. So once again, you have to take into account what's going to happen in the future. And let's confirm that. I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to continue going this way. So once you assign the mission and you have the planes on deck, you have to come here and actually click launch. Only then will the mission launch itself.
Stand by to start engine.
And at the moment we have a number of missions. This is the recon. So like I said before, it does significantly increase the range of our vision. And we also have a recon mission taking place. It's gonna come back to us, but it will take about 4 hours for them to come back to us. And also, these are the DC teams, the damage control teams.
On your command.
By default, I want to change that. Yeah. So by default, I want to have one looking after mechanical failures.
Awaiting orders.
And I want to have a second one looking after fires. You will have to change that as new emergencies come up. So if you get flooding, you'll have to have a damage control team assigned to flooding. And if you have a medical emergency, you'll have to have a team assigned to that. Okay, let's see. So we have 3 missions that are taking place. One is that is identify targets. That is on the way, as you can see. Once he gets there, it will spot exactly what ships are involved and it will come back to us. The recon mission is on the way back. Oh, it may still be hanging around, but anyway, it will eventually come back to us. And the scouting mission takes place around the carrier by default. We simply see the effects. Okay, now. We're fairly sure that that is an enemy fleet. Now, we don't know exactly what they are, but we can start planning on this strike mission. Now, at the moment we don't know what they are exactly. The game does kind of hint, but we'll only know once the identified target mission gets there. At the moment we can only suspect what type of ships there are. So we can also let a bit of time pass. Now, ship is making good speed, so we should be able to meet the airstrikes once they return. And there you go, that was indeed a carrier. So there's one escort carrier, there's one destroyer, and there's one light cruiser. Fleets can have different compositions. At the moment this is a very small one, but it does include a carrier, so that means that we are in danger of getting an airstrike coming in. So the shields next to each ship denote how much damage they can take. Okay, so we know what kind of ships we're facing now. So once you identify the ships in the fleet, you'll be able to see the offensive and defensive ratings of that fleet. At the moment it's 5159 for offensive and 94109 for defense. So let's plan an airstrike. Okay, so once you begin planning an airstrike, and you know what targets you're facing, its offensive rating denotes how much damage it can cause to our planes, and its defensive rating is how much damage we have to cause in order to actually damage ships. There's 3 types of maneuvers. You can have up to 5 maneuvers per airstrike. So you have offensive maneuvers, you have defensive maneuvers, and you have supportive maneuvers. So each provides you different benefits. So if we go to offensive maneuvers, you can have different types of attacks. Each attack gives you a different kind of bonus. This one gives you a bonus to attack and defense for whatever maneuver you place on slot number 5. So even if you place this one here, that will give you the 125% bonus to itself. But let me put this here because I actually want this one. This one has a variable bonus depending on where you place it. So if you place it to the left, anything after it, so let's say I place this one here and I place this one here. The bonus means that anything after it gets a bonus to attack. In this case you can see the bonus there. But if I place this one after it, anything before it gets a bonus to defense. So depending on what you want to maximize defense or offense, that affects where you want to place this one. So I want to place this one here, so it maximizes defense. And this card here is getting a bonus because this one has a bonus to attack and defense, no matter where I place it. Okay, so slots number 1 and number 5 can be pretty important. There's a lot of cards that actually have... Yeah, so there's a lot of cards that actually affect number 1 and number 5. So in this case, if I take this one, that will give me a bonus to attack for number 1 and number 5. So I can place that wherever I want. That increases the attack, that increases the attack. This one gives you a global bonus to defense for all offensive maneuvers. We have one here, we have one here. And also, and here you see that the defense drops down to 0. So what's happening is that the enemy ships have their own capabilities. So in this case, this one disables the attack of all supported maneuvers. So this entire class gets 0 attack if you use it. You can still take advantage of the bonuses, but you just can't take advantage of the attack ratings, which is a bit of a shame because this one has an attack rating of 10. And for the carry itself, our attack of maneuver 5 by 25%, so this one should be a lot higher. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that you target specific ships. So in this case we could just go for the carrier by default, but I don't think that we'll be killing this fleet in one go. So it's important to get rid of their supporting ships, if they have good bonuses. So I think one of the most important things to do is to get rid of the enemy bonuses. So we could either target the carrier, but it has 2 hit points, or we could target the light cruiser. So if we get rid of the light cruiser, that will mean that we can actually use the supporting maneuvers to the maximum value. That will then in turn mean that we can get higher attack ratings. Okay, so at the moment our defense rating is only 27. They still have an attack rating of 59. So as the game is telling you, with this strategy you will be putting your pilots at grave risk. All dispatch squadrons will suffer casualties. It is strongly advised to boost your defenses. It's a good idea to follow that advice. So on the other hand, at the moment we'll cause damage to 1 or 2 enemy targets. So it is a good idea to target the weaker vessels, in this case this one, because it has this property. So the goal in your maneuver composition is to get your attack rating as high as possible without taking too many losses. So if you manage to get 59 or more defense in your airstrike, you will take no damage. But as you get closer to 59, the amount of damage you might take is reduced, so you want to get as close as possible. especially on the first strike. And there are times when you will have to take damage in order to damage the enemy fleet. So it becomes a trade-off between your planes and their ships. But for this mission we should be able to avoid damage. So you really want to focus on cards that give you extra defense. There is also a limit to how many planes you can send out. That's based on your carrier class. As I mentioned before, as you upgrade the carrier class, you can get more planes on deck. At the moment we can only get 6. So as the game says, this is too many. Okay, so we're gonna have to sacrifice some attack in order to get more defense. So at the moment card number 5 has the highest values. Let me get this one as well. So that's 65. So altogether we have 65 defense on our airstrike. So because our defense is greater than 59, that means that we will lose no planes. On the other hand, this current strategy will cause 1 or 2 enemy targets to be sunk. So because we set the priority to the light cruisers, it's very likely that it will destroy the light cruisers, maybe even the destroyer as well, or it might cause damage to the carrier. You can play around with the cards to get different combinations, and we may be able to get a slightly better... This one gives us defense 59, which will still prevent any damage to our airstrike, but it gives us an increase to our attack. So while the 2 supporting maneuvers don't give us any direct bonuses to attack, their bonuses actually mean that the overall attack is stronger. So this one increases the attack of 1 and 2. As you can see, that's gone up a bit and that's gone up a bit. And this one gives us a bonus to defense. So based on my previous campaign plays, I think this is the optimal first strike. So later on, if we manage to sink the light cruiser, we may be able to deprioritize defense and focus on attack. That will then allow us to cause more damage to the enemy fleets. So you shouldn't expect one strike to destroy the entire enemy fleet. You will probably have to make multiple strikes, especially against very strong fleets. In this case, based on my experience, we'll need 3 strikes to destroy the fleet completely. Anyway, let's confirm that. And we also have to set a recovery area, which is about here. And confirm. Now if you check the recovery areas for all the missions, yeah, you can see where they are. So now we have to get the planes on deck.
Issue a torpedo bomber squadron on the deck.
That was 3 torpedo bombers, and you can check what you need here. So there's 1 fighter, 2 dive bombers, and 3 torpedo bombers. Torpedo bombers coming on deck, 2 fighters, and yeah. Oh wait, is that 2 fighters? No, 2 dive bombers, excuse me. So you can only have 5 actions taking place at any given time. So as soon as these torpedo bombers come online, we should be able to queue up a fighter.
Issue a torpedo bomber squadron on the deck.
So as you can see, we've maxed out the number of slots in our carrier. That's both a property of our carrier, which can have 3 squadrons on deck at any given time, and because we maximized the air department. So altogether that gives us 3 for the carrier itself, and 3 for the air department. This is why it's so important to manage your crew correctly. So anyway, I'll fast forward a little bit. We can take a look at free camera. And we can also check out what's happening below deck. Okay, so somebody's been injured.
Squadron on the deck.
Now, one of the things you can do is, well, you have to assign a damage control team to go and retrieve that person. Here. Now this team is actually making a move. You can see the pathing. They will eventually arrive here and take that guy to medbay. Now if you look at here, there is one guy who's injured. If you don't get the damage control team to them in time, what will happen is that they'll be injured and you'll have to assign somebody to the medical department, and you'll have to assign that crew member to a hospital slot. Based on previous experience, it will take about 10 hours for them to come back to full health. So that's 2 people wasted if you don't take care of medical emergencies soon. So the last part of the squadron is coming on deck. That means we can schedule the launch. As you can see here, that's bringing up the fighter, and that is launching the mission. We are still going at half speed, which is good enough. And now the fleet is actually coming towards us. And somebody spotted us, so somebody's circling around us, by the way. And here's our supply situation. So you continuously lose supplies, and if you run out of supplies, that means you can't launch any air missions. But generally you should have enough for the entire day. Okay, so let's fast forward that a bit. We can actually just watch that launching. I'm gonna fast forward. Okay, that should be... Yep. Okay, now. This is where managing your officers is important. Because we've set this guy to provide us with 2 airstrike missions, that means we have a second airstrike that we can queue up. Let's do that. I'm gonna do pretty much exactly the same thing. So torpedo run here, angle attack. We could wait until the first strike is done, but because we have extra slots for airstrikes, we may as well launch them ASAP, because we have the planes to do that. So we'll do pretty much the same thing and launch. And we'll bring them back over here. Need to wait once again. Okay, just make sure that... Yeah, okay, so we may want to adjust. So we may want to cancel the current movement and adjust it slightly. So yeah, we can still recover. This one can still recover. Always make sure that you can recover emissions. Always. Okay, now there is a mission in the air that we can recover. Let's recover that one.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
And also you need to keep an eye on what else is happening. So the scouting mission will end pretty soon. And the recon mission will end pretty soon. That's fine. Ah, okay. I heard that sound. So our plane is crashed. This is why I set one of the damage control teams to maintenance.
Ready.
Because they will automatically get on deck and get rid of that plane. So at the moment the plane is preventing anything else from landing. Right, and the scouts are done, okay. And it also means that one of our squadrons is disabled. There's a random chance of this happening, but what will happen is that they'll chuck the plane overboard. It will take some time, but yes. Okay, there's the plane. Sploosh! That's gone, okay, so that squadron is gone. We can't land it. So let's recover this one. I'll send one of them to the deck, and I'll send another one to the hangar.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
The reason is that I want to launch an airstrike. That only requires 1 fighter, as you can see here. Yeah, we have to recover this within 28 minutes. So we face a bit of a problem. There is a bit of a conundrum. I could wait and recover these guys as well. And there's the mission. Okay, so our attack was successful, didn't take any losses, and they lost the destroyer and the light cruiser. That means that this fleet is significantly weakened. 1 or 2 strikes should be enough to destroy it. None of your planes were damaged, your airmen destroy some of the enemy targets, and you can watch a cinematic. Okay, there you go. That's 2 recons. We have 1 fighter. Let's get some torpedo bombers. So the squadron that just landed is gonna go back to the hangar. And this is where you see why elevators are so important. We can only get 1 fighter down at a time. Each squadron has 3 planes. So having more elevators will mean that you can get this operation done much faster. It can make a big difference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these 2 dart bombers in, and I'm going to queue them up on the deck. So the recon mission is about 4 hours before it will crash into the sea, so that's plenty of time. In the meantime, we have the airstrike taking place, and that's returning now. And the airstrike that's queued up has about 2 hours before it will cancel.
Issue a torpedo bomber squadron on the deck.
Yeah, let me cancel that actually. Let me cancel that. The reason I cancelled it is because the airstrike would have gone somewhere over here. So this one is coming back. It will meet us there. And yeah, that one's recovering now. So let's queue that up for recovery as well. So once we recover those 2 and they line up on the deck, we should be able to just go back to launch and immediately launch an airstrike.
Issue a torpedo bomber squadron on the deck.
Air scouts. This is a problem. Okay, so now we have scouts circling us. We have 1 hour and 50 something minutes to get rid of them, which should be enough time, I think.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
Could get a bit tricky. Could get a bit tricky.
Respot the deck. Prepare for launching.
Right, now we have a full deck and you'll see just how long it takes to get all the planes over there. So yeah, it takes a fair amount of time. So we face a bit of a conundrum. Because our deck is full, getting another fighter up in order to launch a counter scouts mission would mean getting one of our torpedo bombers or one of our dive bombers back into the hangar. We have 15 minutes to do this. I'm not going to bother. What I'm going to do is we're going to launch an airstrike. So the enemy will know where we are, but at this point I don't give a crap. Right, so the escort carrier by itself has an attack of 17. Let me do this. Let me reverse that. So the torpedo run goes over here, which means that anything after it gets extra attack. This one is giving itself a bonus. And let's see. Yeah, let's do that. That will give us extra attack, but it will give us a bit of extra defense as well. Just by adding this supporting maneuver, that gives us enough defense to avoid any kind of damage. Plus it gives us about 13 attack, which is quite nice. So there you go. Because we destroyed the enemy escorts, the carrier by itself, it doesn't present much of a threat. So therefore we can basically ignore defense and maximize offense. So that means 3 dive bombers and 3 torpedo bombers. So the mission is slightly different. So let's recover around here. And confirm, of course. Don't forget to confirm, it's very easy to miss. So we have 3 torpedo bombers and 2 dive bombers on deck. That means that the fight is redundant.
Move the fighter squadron back to the hangar.
Like I said before, I'm going to completely ignore the counter scouts because I think we should be able to destroy the enemy carrier altogether. If there were multiple enemy fleets around, and it is possible, then you should be careful about this. You do not want to be scouted. Generally speaking, you don't want to be scouted because that means that there's a very good chance that an enemy airstrike is on the way to you. So I'm going to ignore that and we're going to add a torpedo bomber. Yeah, it takes a bit of time because of the elevator size. Okay, one more torpedo. Oh shit, that was a mistake. Okay, that was a mistake. That should have been a dive bomber. So yes, that should have been a dive bomber. Never mind, that was a mistake. Anyway, we're just gonna have to put it right back, and that will take a bit of time.
Torpedo bomber squadron back to the hangar.
And at the moment, we're not actually moving. As you can see, we're not actually moving. We've reached our goal. So now that's still within the recovery area, and that's it. Yeah. Okay, now let's queue up a dive bomber.
Issue a dive bomber squadron on the deck.
So yes, we failed the counter scouts mission, which means that we're spotted. There are scouts circling over us. We just don't know where they are now. We can't get rid of them. So we may well experience an airstrike coming in. But I'm going to choose to destroy the enemy carrier first. Alright, so that should be ready to launch.
Start engines.
I'm going to rely on my anti-aircraft and my escort vessels. We're going to rely on our defenses to keep us safe if an enemy air attack comes in. And it's best to watch the launches on free view. Go! Okay, so now we're under attack, which was going to happen because we didn't get rid of the scouts. Okay, so we're getting 2 attacks in. One is from planes, that's a strength of 5, and from a sub. So we can have a mission to counter the submarines. But let's get the airstrike on in the air. Okay, let's get rid of the submarines first.
Issue a dive bomber squadron on the deck.
That's... Okay, we have a couple of hours to get that mission recovered. I think we have enough time to launch a cap as well.
Issue a dive bomber squadron on the deck.
Let's queue that up for launch. That one's going out. That'll probably sink the carrier. We're just about to launch our anti-submarine mission. And we need to recover this airstrike, and we need to get some cap in the air, otherwise we might be in trouble. Okay, so we can have 2 caps.
Start engine.
Okay, so now I'm gonna queue up 2 fighters to get some cap in the air. So the strength of the enemy airstrike is 5, as you can see here. Now, we need to get enough defense to counter that. So we need 5 or more. There's a couple of ways to do this. One is, so we have an escort carrier over here. We can launch an active mission to get some cap. We'll do that. That brought up our defense by an extra 2.
Sir, the new objective is awaiting.
Excellent. The enemy carrier is dead. There you go. That's it. So we just asked our escort carrier to launch our cap. That gives us a bonus of 2 to both our escort defense and our carrier defense. As you can see at the bottom, strike group +2. Now we're gonna launch our own cap.
Issue a
And-
fighter squadron on the deck.
There is a mission we can do here.
Awaiting orders.
Sir.
Here. We can either get an extra cap mission, which you don't really need, or we can get a +1 to our carrier defense. That brings it up to 5. That means it will take no damage.
Issue a fighter squadron on the deck.
Actually, yeah, alright, fine. We'll launch the cap. Yeah, I launched the cap anyway. And you see that it gives us a +2 bonus to our defense. And we'll queue up
Start engines.
a recovery. And we'll get ready to recover the airstrike that we launched earlier. Okay, so there goes the cap. So the cap that we just launched gave us a +2 to defense. So not only are we the carrier safe from that airstrike, so is our escorts. Now let's recover this.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
I'll leave them all on deck for the time being. That's faster. Okay, so the subs are destroyed. So now we only have to worry about the airstrike. Okay, the second airstrike will take about 20 more minutes to come in. This one has to be recovered as well. So because we launched a lot of planes, there's a lot of things that we have to recover. We're recovering this airstrike at the moment, that's all going on deck. We have to recover the counter-submarines. And we also have to get ready to recover the second airstrike. And we also have to launch the mission to recover the VIP. So things get hectic, especially because there aren't too many hours of daylight left. Once it gets to about 9 PM, that's it. So the sun rises at 5 AM and sets at 9 PM. You can't launch any missions outside of those hours. So we're getting pretty close to 9 PM right now. Okay, we have to recover. So yes, this one will go into the sea pretty soon, so we have to take care of it. This one will wait a little while. So once we get this into the hangar, what I'll do is I'll get ready to launch, and we'll be able to launch a VIP mission. So me putting the first airstrike on the deck means that I should be able to launch the VIP rescue mission immediately, because all the planes that we need would already be on deck. Okay, that's the enemy airstrike. So what happened is that we started firing against it. Of course, that's no damage. The cap also caused them some damage. But because our defense was stronger than their airstrike, that means that they didn't manage to hit us at all. And our cap caused some damage to them, so yeah. There seems to be no penalty from having planes on your deck. In real life, that would have been really dangerous. If you got caught with planes on the deck and a bomb hit, that would have been really, really dangerous. may well be taken into account in the game itself, but I haven't yet been hit with planes on deck, so I don't know if that happens. It'd be interesting if it caused extra damage. So I was a little bit too slow.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
Yeah, we're not launching the mission before sunset. Oh, we still have daylight.
Clear the flight deck and prepare for takeoff.
We still have daylight. This is weird. Okay, so now you can't really see, but the planes will move. But the planes will start moving back. Yeah, so now we're getting ready to launch. That's weird, we still have daylight. Don't know what's happening. Okay, so let's prepare the VIP mission. That and that. Confirm that. And we should be able to just launch it immediately.
Stand by to start engine.
Now it's a little bit hard to see, but the order of your planes on the deck actually matters. So in this case we're launching one fighter, one dive bomber, they'll be able to set off without problem. But we have a second dive bomber squadron between that and the torpedo bombers. So as you can see, the dive bombers have to get out of the way before the torpedo bombers can go ahead. That takes longer. So yes, the order of your planes on the deck actually matters. Anyway, we've been detected by something, but it doesn't really matter. I don't think there's a second enemy carrier group out there. Now as you can see, all the torpedo bombers are there. They should be flying off. Yep, they're flying off. And this dive bomber will have to go back to his position afterwards. So yes, managing the order of the planes on the deck is also important. Lots of little details like that, I appreciate it. And our supplies have actually gotten pretty low. But that's fine because it's now evening. Okay, so if we look at what's happening. Oh shit, we need to recover. Yeah, let's recover.
We spot the deck. Prepare for recovery.
Let's fast forward that. Okay, let's get everything on. Yeah, let's get everything onto the hangar.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
So we're not moving, but I don't think we're in danger, so yeah. The game is kind of warning us that we should be moving, but it's okay. And this tells us that we met one of the conditions, which is to destroy the carrier. And we managed to destroy the entire escort as well, so there are no Japanese ships around. So that means that opens up the second mission, which is to rescue the VIP, which we've already launched. Yeah, it's already at wake, and it'll be coming back within an hour. You can receive planes in the dark. I don't know if that increases the danger of having a plane crash on deck, but I haven't seen anything like that, so it seems to be okay. Recovering planes seems to be okay.
Hangar.
Oh, I may have...
Move the dive bomber squadron back to the hangar.
Okay, I may have just screwed things up.
Stand by to recover aircraft.
Yeah, I screwed things up. I took too long. Because I scheduled the VIP mission to recover last, I may have just taken too long to get the last medal. Yeah, so anyway, this was a perfect performance other than taking a little bit too long. So what I should have done is schedule the VIP mission to recover first, before putting all the planes on deck back into the hangar. I should have done that. That would have given me all 4 medals, but that's fine. I think we get an improvement to one of the missions based on our current level. So in this case, the bonus here goes up from 125 to 150%. And you can also award the medals that you got. So you can award them to officers or to your crew. So what I'm going to do is award it to officers. So because we gave a medal to the officer, that means that we get an extra maneuver. In this case, the finger 4. The first medal that you give to an officer gives you an extra maneuver. So it's a bit of a no-brainer to give officers a medal if they haven't got one already. There you go, an extra maneuver. Leap of faith. Okay, defense. Okay, that is good. So extra maneuvers are very important. And also, let's give a medal to one of our crew. So once you assign a medal to the crew, they can get an improvement or a specialization. You can't really tell what you're gonna get beforehand. So in this case, we're gonna have to get generalist, which gives us a 7% bonus overall. Anti-aircraft, which gives us a 10% bonus if they're assigned to anti-aircraft. Or navigation, which gives us a 10% performance bonus to navigation. Generalist is good. Anti-aircraft is necessary, but navigation is always in use. And if you add further medals, you can assign them to different crew members or to the officers. So it can be quite tricky to meet all the mission goals. So for this first mission, it took me 3 or 4 tries before I got all 4 medals. And as you can see, it can be quite tricky. So once you're done with that, you come back to port and you can get the next mission. So yes, it's a good idea to check out the mission before you actually upgrade. We got 5 command points from the mission and we had 2 left over. And we have 6 more upgrade points. But I think you get the gist of it. Anyway, thank you very much, take care of yourselves out there and have fun. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when new videos come out. See you soon.